Get like character like two, right? I get character.
Wow.
Right, you go, okay, find your way.
Live one.
Wait. Why is it so behind? Oh my god, it's fine.
I'm right there.
Player, right?
It's okay. Hold on.
We're like a title.
I'm trying to get my slides up.
Um, each player, right? You can have a phone like.
Wait, no, I can't do it here. I have to.
Right. Okay, so those are the things that we do. I think this like the simplest way is you have your four prefabs.
What? That sounds
Okay.
okay.
Okay, because I see we have this party character, one character, two character, three. Can I just go on? I mean, in theory, you could. I feel like if we already have
Oh,
a
what?
separate character,
yeah. Oh my
You
God.
logged in?
I am, but it's not here.
Right? It just needs to have all of this
Alright, so
stuff. Because if we just add it onto these, just pull off the component from there. Yeah.
I'm just hoping that this is the one. It
And
is.
then, you also, there's
Yeah.
some references to player in the combat scheme itself that you do fill out.
And then if I go here, I think I can. Click on more, but it's gonna take forever because it's lagging.
But yeah.
Look at that.
I mean, I.
Oh, that
call
is-
this player
That's a
back
good
to, like,
5 or 6 seconds.
Yeah,
the
the
active
invite link,
character.
and I think it was.
Pull
Here.
off
Oh, actually, I'm gonna
whenever-
escape. Like here.
Where's that sign that says workshop in progress?
Oh, they, right, there's this, I guess that's.
There's like this paper.
I mean, if it works, it works.
Always make a new one.
If it works, it works.
It's a good idea until other people have to like figure out what's going.
Wait, is that even the right invite link?
Dude,
Wait, can Diego,
Works, it
Yeah.
works.
can you test out this link really
But
quick?
outside of that, it's not.
Got my thumbs. We have them on Discord.
Yeah, like I think in
Channel.
the ideal world,
Oh, wait.
right?
Let me go to
These
workshop.
character
Wait, hold on, no,
prefabs,
Alexander's
right,
already testing it.
It works.
Function
Nice,
identically to this.
I am
stuff,
gonna finish.
And then you
Yeah,
just
let's put on.
shove it in. And then you need to make sure that when you shove this in there, the references get set properly. It makes. It needs to be added to the player object. Or. What do we need to do exactly? Like. Let me get a pen.
Oh, welcome.
yeah, the audience good.
Audio's good? All right, that's perfect. Let's see if I can get streaming already. All right. Share screen. Perfect. Hello, Jackie. I'm just getting stuff set up right now. I'm hoping this thing works. Can I?
Where do we?
I'll do this too. All right. Hello, everyone who's coming in. Or wait. Oh wait, no, that's me. I forgot that I logged into Jackie. I was so confused. I was like, why is it saying anything? Welcome. There you go.
The voices. I just-
The voice over my head.
Voices. Get out of the head. Oh my god. All right. Don't worry, guys. I make fumbles like these on the daily. Okay. So put that.
He fumbles daily so he can get up.
Yeah. Hey, Brian. All right. Why is this not really? Oh, it is. Okay. People are still filing in, you know. Okay.
Currently 158.
158. Perfect. Right, so we'll give it a bit before I get started with the 2 minutes. 2 minutes, yep.
Put on the timer.
I don't know if you can.
Wait, Brian.
Yeah.
Can you guys, can you keep trying, my mouse real quick? I'm just gonna double check it.
It's like.
Everyone get it check right now?
Yeah, please.
Alright, who here is here for the workshop?
Go ahead, go.
Here for the workshop? And you're recording, right?
Yes, recording on the cloud, right? And I also have it on restream right now.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, wait, hold on, let me check.
Either way, they all go right from back. Right, you don't have to get.
All right, that's one extra person on Zoom. Yeah.
This is attached to.
Okay, hold on, give me a second. All right, hello, everyone. Welcome to week 4's writing workshop meeting. Woo! Before I get started though, I just want to like wait until the 2-minute mark so I can feel like, okay, I'm actually like on time and everything. Okay, hello, everyone, officially. This is for today's writing workshop, we're going to be discussing about character and world documents. Look at all these characters. Wow. But hello. But yeah, as you guys might be wondering, each with their own. There we go. So as you guys might be wondering, what is a character and world design block? Well, let's imagine a scenario really quick. Let's say that your game's development is going pretty smooth, right? And your producers are wondering, oh, hey, maybe it should be time to add some characters into this mix of our game. And you're going, oh, how exactly do we do that, right? We do that exactly with a character design document. So what this is it's basically just an outline of what your character is. So let's say, for example, let's take Mario, for example, right? Pretty basic character, right? You have your name right off the bat, right? Your name, his background, which is most likely a plumber and also an acrobat as well. You also have his personality traits, which would be his heroism and say, for example, his courage as well, right? You would have to label this so in like a document, for example, like you have his name, background, personality traits so far, right? I put this line here in case you didn't see. We can't have an interesting character without trauma. This doesn't always apply to some characters, of course. I don't know the last time I remember Mario having some sort of like traumatic event in like his career, right? But this is still like a good piece of advice to remember when writing more complex characters that such as like Joel in The Last of Us, right? He has kind of a messy history as well, which kind of adds a lot to to not only developing your plot later on, it also helps reflect that with some gameplay design choices as well, with his dialogue as well. You can also include desires and moments of growth for the character as well. So desires would be the wants of a character, right? What does Mario want to achieve? For example, it could be either personal or for something else. In that case, a desire that Mario might have, even though it's definitely more implicit, it would be either saving the princess or saving the kingdom. Those are usually his wants. But what exactly does he need to develop as a character? Well, honestly, again, since he is kind of a surface level character, we would have to use someone more complex such as Joel, who as you progress through the story, you start to realize that he wants to become more of a father figure to Ellie, right? And although it does fall under a desire at some point, it is definitely a part of his growth to finally learn like what it means to be a good father to her. I also put down here, imagine if Nathan Drake never met Elena. Have you guys ever played Uncharted? Okay. Okay, so really quick, what is to the people that did play Uncharted, what is their dynamic between throughout all the games, if you can remember?
A lot of back and forth.
Back and forth dialogue.
Where they're just, they'll like have like insults, but not insults, you know what I mean?
So more like friendly banter.
Yeah, like
Right.
banter, yeah.
Right, but can you see how much farther that friendly banter could go? Like, do you understand how that also applies to both their desires and growth for each other as well? Because if you kind of remove one or the other, you don't really have much to build off of for the narrative of the game. It just kind of falls flat, right? Let's say you just replace Nathan Drake entirely, and you just put in some one-dimensional character, so a character with like no sort of development. It's just a template, right? It wouldn't really make the adventuring aspect all that fun. It wouldn't really feel fulfilling, right? You would still have like the mechanics, like the hiding and like the gunplay and everything, but it just doesn't really elevate that experience any further, right? You can't really rely on a lack of characters for your game. Sometimes you're going to need this basic structure to really elevate the experience of it. So we kind of have our characters here, right? But what else are we missing? Well, we are missing our world design docs, right? So basically treat your character or treat your world as if it's just another character. You have your desires, your growths, your traits, but in this case, this would be your visual themes. What aesthetic are you trying to go for? Are you trying to go for something like steampunk, more Aztec, more punk rock, or more Y2K, which is my favorite aesthetic, by the way. It's world's history as well, which if your game is not going to focus too much on it, it still would be nice to have it for like lore purposes as well, right? What time period does this game take place in? How advanced is this society in terms of its technology? Is it somewhere closer to our time period, or is it something more in terms of the start of the Victorian era, let's say, for example, right? You always want to consider where your game takes place in time, because this does affect how your lore is built off of this. But if you don't want to worry about that too far, just focus on a basic timeline for now. It helps to be able to think of your game in terms of linear progression as well. Not to say that the game itself is linear, just think of a linear like narrative in terms of time. So what about a world's politics, right? Does it have any governments? Is it if so, is it an anarchy? Is it a monarchy? A democracy? You really have to think about how the world's politics apply to your game, even if it isn't the main focus, right? Let's say let's take Skullgirls, for example, right? You don't really think about this too often if you're playing the game, just for the fighting mechanics, but the world that it takes place in, its government is definitely, I think, a lot more authoritarian, and so that reflects. Is that right? Do you know if it is? Because I see like you're like pondering that, Mario. A little bit, okay. I just wanted to be like to be sure, because it's like the game world's politics does kind of affect the not only the aesthetics of like characters like I think her name was Hera. I always forget the name, but the one that has a black umbrella is like in a black suit. Parasol.
Parasol.
Right. Characters like Parasol, they reflect the world's politics in their character design as well. So you also have to consider how that comes into play. And just below that, we also have something a little bit similar with culture, right? Culture also ties in with a game's visual theme as well. So let's take steampunk, for example, right? Usually when you think of steampunk, you usually think Victorian era style clothing, right? Maybe their manners are more formal with how they interact with each other, right? This can also affect social environments as well, right? Do certain age demographics like hanging out in like large groups at like record stores, for example? Let's think of like Fallout for a bit, right? And in some of the cities, you could see some groups of NPCs, like let's say like in like a diner, for example, they're just making like small talk, right? You would want to consider how their culture kind of ties in with the way they behave towards one another, right? And also kind of another thing that's listed here, a bestiary or an almanac would also be pretty important with developing your game's world, right? So think of like a good set of creatures for like a game, like Pokemon, for example. Their world building is entirely dedicated to their bestiary, right? Many of their historical moments ties back into the bestiary, right? So if you decide to make your main focus this aspect right here, you want to consider how do the animals and the plants of this world corresponds to everything else as well, right? So outside of Pokemon, you can also say, let's say, for example, Slime Rancher, right? Your whole business in that game is selling and collecting these slimes that you find throughout the game. And so the way that characters talk about slime ranching as like a job, as like a occupation, that also ties in with the world design as well. So again, you really want to consider how your game is structured in its world. Okay, but we can also get a little bit more specific with not only the world, but also the character design docs. So anything else you want to add into this is always going to be beneficial, right? Let's say your relationships with other characters and the world. To tie back in with Nathan Drake and Elena, at first they kind of started off as like more friendly rivals, and then throughout the later games you realize that they have developed a more romantic relationship with each other, right? As for relationships with the world, let's think of it like Minecraft, for example, right? So while Steve himself is a very one-dimensional character with like zero story, right? You could still write how Steve is able to manipulate the world to his own advantage, right? Let's take, for example, the mine shafts, right? Steve is able to wander through these like with pretty much relative ease, just able to just follow the path that's like least taken and end up finding like a lot of treasure. But how exactly does that correspond with like his character, right? Is he the one that was responsible for placing these mines in like the beginning of a world generation, or is it the result of someone else's actions? That's something to also consider when you're developing your world design document as well. Your likes and dislikes for a character also kind of important as well, right? Simple things like, oh, my character in this game hates chocolate chip anything, right? You might be thinking, okay, that's kind of dumb. Like, why is that something I should write down? Like, again, you could just tie this back into the main plot of a game. Maybe their life-saving medicine is like baked into a chocolate chip cookie and that they refuse to eat, right? Something silly like that, right? That's how like crucial it is to always keep those little things in mind as well for the most absurd reasons, right? Character arcs, also pretty important for more complex games as well, right? So your protagonist, your deuteragonist, which is the secondary character to a main character. So think of having a Tails-like character for a Sonic-like character, right? Mario, you have your Luigi, right? Those are basically your secondary characters that you also want to be able to think about, right? You also have your antagonist, pretty fairly simple to understand. They can also have their own character arc, but not in the way of like becoming a better person. Maybe it's in the way of developing their hatred for the protagonist in a way, right? You could also have character arcs for supporting characters, but it depends on how fleshed out you want those to be, right? Do you want something similar to what you see in Resident Evil 4 remake with I believe his name. Shoot. You remember it's the one guy with like the kind of like wavy hair that Leon meets like kind of periodically.
Like Lewis or something.
Luis? Oh, Luis, yeah. Or Lewis, yeah. So even he has like kind of a mini character arc as well, right? You don't really see it in the like when you first meet him, but as you're like playing through the game, you realize he's trying his best to like really help Leon because he deeply cares about him, but he's just very he just doesn't want to show that because he's kind of afraid of doing so, right? Small things like that are also elevate your game as well. To go back into world systems for a bit, does it have a magic system, some sort of like gunplay system, or like is like the weaponry something that they want to focus on, or is that something that they just want to ban entirely, right? Again, that also ties in with politics and culture as well. So things can get pretty complicated there. Are body enhancements also a thing? Think of Cyberpunk, Sandevistan, you know? How does that correspond with your ability to gain like power-ups and stuff like that, right? Is the world's architecture a result of cultural aspects or from a worldly limitation like gravity and air resistance? So think of think of like any dystopian game. Like you have like these massive skyscrapers, right? And it's probably kind of like easy to consider, oh yeah, they probably have super advanced technology that allows them to build this high, right? Something that you don't really consider too often, but it's still important to write down, right? It's also very important to keep these notes in whatever doc you're working on, right? For world systems, that would be your world document, of course. For specifics, likes and dislikes, and like all these other aspects, put them in your respective characters document as well. And actually, here's what I have done so far. As you can see, it's pretty basic actually. And real quick, I want to see how much you guys have taken in so far and point out anything that anything that I've done right or didn't do right for just 5 minutes real quick. Yeah, we got some. Really quick. Oh, I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, whoever's in the chat right now, feel free to write down your thoughts on what you see here. Right. It's too small. I know.
No.
Hoping that doesn't get in the way. So for people that can't really easily read it, we have just 4 characters right now. The first character is your protagonist. He is very cynical and self-absorbed in their athletic abilities, right? They're naturally agile though, because they were raised by athletes as well. And being the player character, they are also able to communicate with each of their team members, but they have restrictions based on how mean or how nice they've been to them. So for the second character, his name is Ozymandias or Ozzy. He is cool-headed and suave, right? But he can also blow a fuse pretty easily from the player character's antics because they are also a big control freak, right? The third character, Bob, his actual name, no code name, right? He's a demolitions expert. Very vulgar, but also very wise, right? He's got a lot of experience in his field, and he's fairly confident in what he talks about, right? And then you have finally Hawkeye, a reluctant thief. He is very very calm, but also gets nervous very easily. Being only a college student, he doesn't really feel as experienced as everyone else, and he easily shows that with his demeanor around everyone. Very anxious and on edge most of the time, but he's also very intelligent as well, but does not know how to express that with everyone else because he struggles with talking to them a lot. So yeah, really quick, you guys have any thoughts, anything you pointed out? All right, go ahead.
I noticed that each character has like a pro and a con.
Mhm.
Like they have this, but they have this. They have this, but they're also a control freak.
Yeah.
You know, so each one has their pro and con
Mhm.
for all the characters.
All right, yeah, see, it's always important to focus on what good and bad qualities a character should have, because if you only have a character that just has good qualities, it can be pretty difficult to write your plot around them because it can just not only feel pretty boring for the player to put their shoes in, but also just to have like some sort of like enjoyment of seeing them like kind of like fumble in their actions, kind of makes them more human in a way. If you have a character that's just purely evil, it can also come off as like kind of a one-note character. It's not really easy to really enjoy someone that's kind of one-dimensional as well. It's very difficult to pull off. So anything else before we move on? Anything you guys want to point out? All right. Really quick.
There's a lot of motives in here, I think, or at least for Hawkeye, but I don't notice any likes or dislikes.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Good thing to point out too. I will say when we developed this game, when we developed this Twine game, we didn't really have the time to focus on the likes and dislikes, which kind of, I would say, kind of knocked our experience down a level, because it wasn't really hard for a lot of our play testers to really feel like, oh yeah, I mean, these characters have nice banter, but like it's just, that's about it. They don't really have a lot of like relatability to them, you know? So it's good that you pointed that out. There are a lot of other stuff that we also did not include here as well. So yeah, we're moving on from that now. So why do all of this as well? Like, sure, it's helpful for like establishing characters for yourself, but it's also really good for your team. Okay, as you can see here, funny title. Thank you. Your team will be referring to these docs constantly, right? Scripts are not always going to be looked at frequently by your team members. They just take too long. And if they want to know some details about characters like on the fly, they're going to have to slog through kind of a lot of like exposition to get to that point, right? Programmers will want to implement your character's abilities if they have any, right? So again, to tie back into maybe say a character's like qualities that they have from a world like Cyberpunk, for example, right? Your programmers will want to add stuff like a time slowing ability, because that's what you wanted to focus on for the world building document, for example, right? Artists will also want to use these for their character concepts, their environment concepts, right? Kind of important to have a space for your game to take place in, and then for some reason not have that as you're working on this game, right? You always want to make sure that your artists are on good terms with what you want to expect out of them for your world or your characters, right? If your team is also well informed on how characters and the world works, then you pretty much streamline development for everyone else, right? Again, writers are kind of the sleeper hit of a team. If you can get a world document or a character document up for everyone else, it makes things a lot easier for the rest of your team members to kind of build the game off of those documents, right? Again, in the event that you decide to back out of the project, this also provides documentation for your team, right? Sometimes things will come up, you won't be able to work on something anymore. Having a character and world document will at least allow some sort of leverage for your other team members to kind of build off of that, right? There are some more complicated stuff about like copyright and stuff like that, but this is not our main focus right now, right? So here are actually a couple of templates that I've wanted to point out, right? Before I talk about this, I want to talk about this, the Dungeons and Dragons character creation document thing, right? 5th edition. Good that you pointed that out. Oh my goodness. So yeah, again, it's actually not too different from what you would use for Dungeons and Dragons, for example, right? You've got your name, you've got your class background, your feats, your treasures, languages, and hold on, proficiencies, right? Again, this is actually not a bad way to try to get into formatting a character document for your own game as well. You already have a lot of crucial points to talk about for your character, right? It's really helpful to at least take some inspiration from this, of course, because again, like it lets you know like what kind of things you should focus on for your character, right? And as you can see here, this Notion world building template, I will cover this a little bit more in the next slide, but basically there's also online resources for you to use as well to structure what your character has like done. Basically, think of like a Wikipedia entry for like a famous celebrity, right? You always have their early life, their career, their legacy. Basically, you will want to have like a similar format for your characters as well if you are trying to make a more complex game as well. So again, here are some of these other resources. You have your basic organization apps, Notion and Miro. Notion is definitely more geared towards writers because it allows you to build templates for things like website pages and screenplays. Also, give me a second. And also, of course, our world and character documents, right? Pretty important stuff if you're trying to write down all your ideas in a neat and organized way. Miro is definitely more focused on the note-taking aspect rather than the structuring aspect, right? It's definitely useful for writing down basic things like, oh, I want to make a tree branch, or I want to make a tree where I want to talk about the likes, and then I could just make like branches to other nodes about what this character likes, for example, right? But as for resources, honestly, your best bet would be actually using like websites like Pinterest and Tumblr. There's a lot of useful writing resources there that you can use to get inspiration for not only a layout of a character or world document, but also to get some inspiration on how a character should behave or should look or something like that, right? I actually found this resource here, Indie Docs, as I was making this presentation. I will post these slides later in the Discord, but if you are looking to get a head start in like making like your character or world documents, definitely check this out. There's a lot more than just basic like LARPing resources. It's very useful as well. Yeah. So it's time for the turntables. Let's get a little bit more familiar with this. So real quick, if you guys don't have any like writing tool out right now, just pull up like a Google Docs or something like that. Just very quick notes. It could be on your phone. It could be wherever, right? Just have some sort of writing implement out right now before we get started with this.
Oh, there is bigger, but that's weird.
Okay, so are we all good? Can I get a thumbs up? Hold on, really quick. I want to check who's online right now. All right, Keegan. Keegan, make sure you got your writing stuff out, all right? Because we're gonna get started now. All right, so. All right, it's time to build a scare and something about the world too, right? So your team has agreed on a haunted aesthetic, some sort of vibe, right, for that. But they're also looking for your help on establishing the world and what characters belong there, right? So you can either use a template or some sort of blank document to get started. We'll take about like, let's see. We'll take about like 10 minutes or so, or I guess like 10 or 15 minutes. We got plenty of time now, right? So really quick, this world has to have some sort of like haunted element into it. Maybe it takes place in like a haunted house, maybe it takes place in a graveyard. Maybe you want to follow something akin to like something like a world like Resident Evil where zombies have taken over and everything is just blowing up, right? So again, you want to focus on that for your world, and that's for your characters. You could stick with something basic, like maybe like some sort of bounty hunter, or some sort of like hunter for like a vampire hunter, for example. Something like maybe think of like Simon or like Simon from Castlevania. Jill Valentine from Resident Evil, you know, you want to be able to fit your characters into this aesthetic. So again, real quick, let's get started with practicing this, practicing making some world documents, you know. I'll actually get started myself too.
That's like more than your shop. Yeah.
And make sure to post these in the writing channel for the Discord.
About making games,
When there's this.
about thinking games, about making games.
Feel free to share your guys' thoughts as you're working on this. You don't have to.
Sorry, I got
you don't have to be
distracted.
whispering. The template for Dungeons and Dragons or the Notion template, right? Yeah. So if you go on to Notion and actually look up, let me actually double check so you guys can find this too. This is pretty useful. If you actually just log into Notion and you look on community templates, you can like type in, I think what I typed in was wiki world building, as in like Wikipedia. So the first 4 letters of that, and then world building, you should be able to find that template. Exactly. I'll actually send the link in writing so you guys can easily access that.
It won't. I want to see it. Okay. It's like.
area.
But you too. And you don't, okay, I'm like, I didn't believe it, but should I show you guys going like, subscribe to this one, like,
Like talking about it in your own head.
Yeah.
It's a great joke with your stuff.
It's not a joke, it's so real.
Like that and speaking is. Yes.
My readings. Last time I.
Maybe that's like for the month.
Yes, there is a little bit. Poland.
Yeah, I know that.
It goes. Yeah. I've been. This way. For so long. Love you people in college. Right. I need to confess. Yes, it's just one thing. And it's like the big bulging, like. And then I think it's time to show you all. Yeah, I can like the actual, it's an actual cycle. I'm like, I know. Go see that. No.
I said, you know, I can't with real. I don't have any idea. And I was like, wait, I want to be.
People, the first one, there's only a page for it. Oh my God, wait.
And then that was. And then it'll all be like
No,
yeah, we're not like those types of lizards. You know.
The baby's purple. No, this is.
Yeah, not like that. Maybe. I don't think I'm the type of information like that.
I accept it. That's I mean, it's fine. It's just like, it's like other ways to do it. I sometimes parents always go.
And it's one of the pictures that's looking here, this is, I've been looking at. So I think
This is the comic that I'm basing this off. It's like a little spin-off side story. No, no.
what happens.
There's like a certain panel. I wonder if I can just find It's just like one page, or just like one specific page, I'm like, yeah, this is Squarespace awful. I see that. I'll go find it.
Like,
I'll go
I
find it.
feel like it can't be that hard to explain.
It's like, okay. It kind of is, it's more just like windows everywhere. Okay, I don't know, this is the. Well, there's this whole panel, this is like, it's more about switches, that was really odd, only for, people with this.
We kind of do that already.
I can do it. Otherwise, just look at it, just find a cutscene, which is like, I've been in the movie. I don't want to.
I don't think any of the others that you would be able to know.
I have this memorized. You know, see my options fine. Well. Your opinion doesn't matter. Okay, I'll show you the family photo. Hold on. I have options fine with my word and my baby. No, it's just American drum. It's just American drum. I just have to follow that. I'm waiting for that. We haven't done them up there. Yeah, my favorite is the doctor. Oh, nice. It's the bear. The bear's not real. It's not real. It's this big page in the corner. Okay, not very good or not. I was just thinking concept. I got my brain. Yeah, you should read the comic page and send it. I also talked about that.
All right, we'll finish this activity at like 2:45. I think 2:45 sounds good. So get your last thoughts out now.
Just open it on the times meeting for the main show. I want a lot of people on surgery to say there was the exact same words. Just open it for me, not.
People have eyesight that they are.
Yeah, but you can also. Earlier that meeting was today, I didn't have time.
Yeah, I have no idea. There's a lot of, I don't know who the good guys are, who the bad guys are.
Just open it a new tab and see it, Jesus Christ.
I'm okay, but it means we'll not go through it.
I'm not gonna say this, it sounds.
Over the step. I will.
Five hours to the narrow view. Garrett? That's terrifying. Don't be greedy. No, be greedy. Oh my God, it's soft. It's like. Oh no, it's about like the little like the lizards and they're like.
Well, all of our games and games are this.
Wow. Right.
maybe that one was a little bit, like, we can all share.
A lot. I will make this
Only
only
that.
Transformers, the Transformers on Sunday, I swear to God. No.
I feel like there's.
Everyone's on. Over there. This review of it.
Is there roll or is it? Yeah. Yeah, that's like. Beautiful.
You know, like Transformers work is coming on Halloween day, night. It's gonna be so cool.
I'm not even the first thing that's going on there. I get back to that.
Yeah, you think it'd be funny if like our whole family went to the Halloween event, you know, just sort of. I'm gonna be.
A lot of different. This is the only.
I wonder like, wow, do you know, like, or just like, it's not like say my walk, I like a very.
I got stuff up.
I got like one, I can like
Talking about.
stop people with it.
We can understand it. I'm gonna, I mean, yeah.
Like a
With the. Oh, shut off. Oh, absolutely. Oh, I don't care about. Live there. And she like, just like an iPod time behind her. Yeah, maybe that's the reward.
I am as well, yes.
Yeah, and I the interstellar house parliament. That's the online. The interstellar house of parliament.
Okay, I'm gonna post my thing now, and if you guys haven't yet, just post whatever you have. It's okay if you don't have a world document or a character document in particular. As long as you have something to show, then just go ahead and post them.
I don't care.
Oh, you want to school?
I got like one that first search.
Also,
It's not losing.
I didn't really, you know, I was.
Yeah.
And, when I were in the degrees,
Hey Wesley. Wesley, what's your last name?
Yeah, different one.
Okay, don't worry about it, never mind, forget.
I think.
There's a Wesley who never gave us their itch page for the project. And we didn't know.
That's so good. They're gonna like, I'm like targeted. He's best.
Oh, dang, all right, Keenan, I see you. Jeez.
I
Yeah,
got-
look at that.
I got stumped, I was like.
Yeah. Dang, that's pretty impressive, man. Nice. Right. I'll actually read a couple of your guys's real quick. I did end up not being able to write much because I was trying to find the links. But, right, so I'll go ahead and read Keenan's. So his world, in this world, are evil and haunted monsters and creatures come out during the night. This is due to some reason or another. But I think there could be a more interesting reason other than they burn in the day. All right, I see you. All right, culture. People are deathly afraid of the night. The stories that are told for children to behave always relate to avoiding going out at night, always locking the doors and closing the windows till morning. Superstition has grown past just the night and has grown to a general fear of the dark.
But.
People don't sleep without a candle on. Less people might go out during cloudy days as well. There's also a small group of monster hunters that go out every night to hunt these creatures. It helps with both morale and actually helps with keeping the monster population in check. Bestiary. These monsters only come out at night, but their bodies seem to do fine when in the sun. While it's recommended that people lock their doors and close their shutters at night, these monsters will still attack houses that follow these rules. All right, nice. Tech level and monster hunting. Tech level is around Victorian era. They have guns and such, but not advanced as ours. So something akin to muskets. I see. All right. Many monsters have their own weaknesses and strengths. So monster hunters must learn specific details of their quarry in order to win a fight. As monsters usually can overpower any human, i.e. silver weapons, holy water, whatever. All right. Nice. This is pretty good. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna take a look at another person's before the end of this. So let's see. I'll actually take a look at two more, actually, two short ones. So we have this from Lazy Seal, Haunted Aesthetic, Ghost. So mostly ghost focused. So there's ghost hunters that try to kill all the ghosts. They use various weaponries specifically designed to kill the ghosts. Mana is the food of the ghosts, as well as the thing that appears naturally in all things. Living things, humans specifically, are full of mana. In order to eat mana, ghosts usually take the easy way to kill people. All right. You, the player, are a ghost. You were born or created, my bad, in an abandoned house and only read books about the humans. Your main goal is to fully become human. However, in order to become human, you must collect a certain amount of mana. The game could give the player a choice to two different play styles, either killing the humans to collect mana as fast as possible, or resist the temptation and only collect mana from non-living things. So I do like how your kind of world building also goes into the actual gameplay design as well, and giving the player two choices and also giving them possible ways to actually interact with their environment as well. I like how you consider that as well. So yeah, as the game progresses, more and more ghost hunters will try and kill you, either fight back or escape. Yeah, okay, I like that idea actually. Really quick, I might have to actually end this meeting because, yeah, okay, I'll actually get through one more and then we can call it for today. So here we have from Alexander, we have the Dots Mage for characters. This is the mage of the party who wears a magical hat and wields a magical lollipop. This magical lollipop signature aesthetic is pink lemonade, sweet and sour, specifically sweet and sour, right? The magical hat has the aesthetic of the party's emblem as well. The dot shield, which is the shield for the party. And the world is the Twizzler Swamp. This Twizzler decreases down into the ground. The deeper you go, the darker it gets, with lighting entering from the swamp becoming redder and redder. I kind of like that. I actually like that you incorporated like the color of Twizzlers to change the lighting to be something more menacing as well. I was like, at first, I was like reading those characters and I was like, oh, I don't see how this correlates to the haunted aesthetic. And then you bring me back in with the lighting. That's good. All right. So one should watch out for the Twizzler trap. Thin vines, usually visually hidden from twisting together and then separating to grab you. Okay, so it's kind of like a snake attack, I think, where it's like they just come up from like the sky and just like grab you. Is that what I'm getting at with this? All right, yeah, that's cool. I like that. Yeah. All right. Not bad, you guys. I'll actually read over through most of these myself when I have the time to. I'll probably get done with reading these today. And yeah, I'll give you guys some like feedback and stuff. But yeah, thank you guys for coming. Give me a second. I want to actually like. All right. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming, you guys. Y'all can head out now, but if you want to stay and ask questions, I'll be available for like a couple of minutes. So, yeah.
That's my writing officer.
All right, that's it. So thank you guys. Thank you, Keenan. Hold on. Yeah, thank you for coming, Keegan. If you could feel free to leave now, or if you have any questions, you can ask in the chat.
And it's very self-aware, it's so dumb.
Wait, so,
He has dated
Hold on.
everyone from their normal stereotypes.
I take track of that right now.
This essentially this series knows that you're really limited. It's very simple.
So
It knows, it knows that it knows what it is, it knows what it can't. do.
it's like, yeah, I'm kind of wondering about it.
This is.
And
yeah.
so like,
You know, photo guy. You know, photo guy.
Or what is a self-aware mom or? Why one